Groundwork begins on an expansion of a Veterans Affairs clinic in Prestonsburg. And Israel begins facing more pressure from allies over the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip.
Plus, we are tracking some showers and cooler temperatures as we end the work week. Your first alert forecast coming up as Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
With Veterans Day on the calendar this weekend, Floyd County officials are celebrating past and current veterans while also looking toward their futures. Prestonsburg Mayor Les Stapleton announced the first phase of work is now underway for the area's VA clinic expansion. Floyd County Judge Executive Robbie Williams says the push to get the expanded space locked down in Prestonsburg was a team effort.
Because basically the clinic right now is you stop in, they check your blood pressure, and they send you on to Huntington. So with this expansion of the new clinic, which is going to be located beside the City Hall here in Prestonsburg, they're going to have all services there.
Officials say the geotechnical work on the space began today, and they expect to see the clinic operating by 2025. We'll have more about the importance of this expansion coming up tonight at 6.
We are tracking warm weather and hazy conditions across the mountains for your Wednesday afternoon. Let's take a live look across the region from London to Hazard to Pikeville. A similar scene across the mountains right now. We are dry, also sunny and a little bit hazy in some areas. And check out those temperatures, upper 70s. Some of us right now sitting in the lower 80s. How about that for early November? 82 in Somerset, also Irvine, 80 for Manchester, 78 for Prestonsburg, and 76 over in Pikeville. So once again, we are well above average. But we're also tracking some breezy conditions as well. Those winds are howling out of the south up to 20 or 25 miles per hour in some areas, and that breezy weather will continue as we go into this evening as well, as that cold front also continues pushing off to the east. You see that area of low pressure, also a cold front over Kansas and Missouri that will continue pushing east, and as a result, more rain chances on the way for Thursday, also Friday. Some much needed showers on the way as we close out your work week, but once that system passes, we are trending drier, also cooler for this weekend before possibly more above average weather for next week. All those details on the way in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. Congress has voted to censure their only member with Palestinian roots in a moment described as emotional. The Michigan representative has repeatedly denounced Israel's military response to the deadly attack by Hamas a month ago. CBS's Nicole Killian reports from Capitol Hill.
I will not be silenced, and I will not let you distort my words.
Michigan Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib fought back tears as she was censured Tuesday night for her stance on the Israel-Hamas war.
I can't believe I have to say this, but Palestinian people are not disposable. Right. We are human beings, just like anyone else.
Tlaib is the only Palestinian American in Congress and one of 2 Muslim women in the House.
Mr. President, the American people are not with you on this one.
She had increasingly come under fire since the October 7th attack and was accused of promoting false narratives and anti-Semitic rhetoric. In a recent social media post, she invoked the phrase "from the river to the sea," which critics say is a veiled reference to the eradication of Israel.
The river is the Jordan River, and the sea is the Mediterranean. This is a call for the complete destruction of Israel.
While Tlaib called it an aspirational call for freedom, it drew condemnation from both sides of the aisle, with 22 Democrats joining to support the GOP-led resolution to punish Tlaib.
My criticism has always been of the Israeli government and Netanyahu's actions. It is important to separate people and government.
Tlaib did not have to stand in the well of the House, which sometimes occurs when a lawmaker is reprimanded. She becomes only the 26th member of Congress to ever be censured, which is one step short of expulsion. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Israel faces pressure from some of its closest allies over the plight of civilians in Gaza as thousands of Palestinians stream out of the enclave's north on foot because of dwindling food and water and increased fighting in urban areas. The group of 7 wealthy nations announced a unified stance on the Israel-Hamas war after intensive meetings in Tokyo, condemning Hamas and supporting Israel's right to self-defense. Raphael Cohen is director of the Strategy and Doctrine Program of RAND Project Air Force.
So the problem with the ceasefire really gets back to Israel's overall objectives here. It wants to, number one, destroy Hamas, number two, rescue the hostages. It also wants to mitigate the harm to civilians as well, but it does not want to jeopardize those prior two objectives.
The group of 7 also called for the unimpeded delivery of food, water, medicine, and fuel, and for humanitarian pauses in the fighting. At a news conference following the G7 ministerial in Tokyo, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken reaffirmed his position against an indefinite stop to the fighting. He said that would allow Hamas to regroup and attack Israel again.
All of us want to end this conflict as soon as possible, and meanwhile, to minimize civilian suffering. But as I discussed with my G7 colleagues, those calling for an immediate ceasefire have an obligation to explain how to address the unacceptable result it would likely bring about.
Blinken is pushing for humanitarian pauses, which he says would advance key objectives. Coming up on First at 4, last night was a big night for Kentucky Democrats, at least at the top of the ticket. We'll take a look at what Democrats around the nation are saying about it.
Plus, we are tracking dry weather into this evening, but rain chances are looming by Thursday, also Friday. Those details coming up after this break.